Hello, boys and girls, and welcome back to the finals of the Florida Regional Championships. In this land of magic, we have a story for you. My name is Adam Dorricott, and I'm joined by my co-commentator, Gabby Snyder, and we're going to round out the tale of this regional very quickly before we dive back into the finals. It's a tale of two adventurers. Young Ian, travelling from the far-off kingdom of Texas with his trusty Smiggle, has traversed many warriors to be here. Weathered William, on the other hand, a local boy, tore himself from the tavern and in his stupor made the second day of competition, where he felt the sturdy oak in the world champion in the round we just watched. How are you, Gabby?
I'm doing pretty great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I just thought we'd sum it up. We live near so many magical attractions and the Magic Kingdom and all that good stuff. I just thought it would be themed and appropriate to sum up the tournament that way.
I think that was a very good summary, so thank you for that. And it's nice to take a moment to recollect ourselves after what I think was one of the most insane matches we've had on stream all weekend.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that both of us needed to just cool off after that. There was a bit too much going on. And
yeah, definitely.
If our hearts are racing, I can't imagine what the players are feeling, particularly Will. He just played his match. We gave him a little bit of a break. And he's going to be coming into this final running hot, though. To take down the world champion in such a fashion is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely well played by him. It is going to be a much different game, though. Ian running a very different team compared to what Wolf brought. And I'm really excited to see how these two trainers are going to match up. We did give these trainers some time last night to go over their potential matchups going into the top 8 of this Florida Regional Championships, and we'll have to see. Maybe some of the theorying they did last night will really help give them an advantage going into this battle.
Yeah, I had a brief chat with the players beforehand, and they're both a little bit wary of the matchup that they've got. Neither of them feels like they have a very clear advantage at all. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they match up. Should be exciting to see them really duke it out. So I'm looking forward to it. We've seen both these players on stream all morning, though, and I think both their playstyles are very different, and it's going to be very curious to see how they mesh together.
Yeah, so I think we should, get things started, get the ball rolling, and I am so excited to see how these teams are going to match up. So while these trainers are taking a moment to, ensure that their DSs are ready, they're at the live competition screen, they're ready to get that battle started, let's, go ahead and take a look at the teams on the table. So once again, for those of you just tuning in, Ian is running a Xerneas, Smeargle, Whimsicott, Groudon, Kangaskhan, and Gengar team against Will's Kyogre, Xerneas, Raichu, Hitmontop, Amoonguss, and Salamence. So these Pokemon are definitely going to have an interesting matchup. I'm not really sure what to expect to see. We will see from leads going into Game 1.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see the supporting cast, and particularly the disruptive kind of Pokemon that both of these players bring. Will has two options for that disruption. He has the Raichu and the Amoonguss, which I'm a big fan of. We didn't see any Amoonguss from him yet today, so I don't know if that's going to be maybe the secret. It could have a decent matchup against the Xerneas. Probably not so much with the threat of Groudon coming out from Ian's side of the field, though. And then, obviously, when it comes to Ian, we're looking at the Whimsicott as that massive sort of form of disruption. There is a good amount of disruption from the Gengar as well. We've seen the Whimsicott-Gengar pairing do a lot of work coming into this final. And I wonder if Will has an answer to that. They've obviously seen each other's teams, very ready for it, and we're just about to dive right on in here.
Yeah, so once again, this is the finals of the 2017 Florida Regional Championships. Will Collin versus Ian Mclaughlin. Let's get this party started. Raichu and Salamence led on Will's side of the field against Ian's Gengar and Whimsicott. So we are not going to see that Xerneas and Salamence lead that he's relied on for much of today and possibly yesterday as well.
No, we don't definitely see it changing up. All day today we've seen Ian throw out Smeargle very early on in the game, and today for the first time he decides, no, I don't want to go Smeargle, I'm going to use the Whimsicott Gengar. We saw that actually come out from Giovanni Costa early in the tournament. We saw how much work it does, so it'd be interesting to see if Ian's as well versed in how to do it, but it's not going to go all his way. There is still, of course, the Raichu on Will's side of the field, maybe able to put a fake out down into the Whimsicott slot, stop it doing all it wants right off the bat in particular, and Salamence and Mega Evolving after this Gengar, still going to be offensive pressure coming out.
Yeah, there definitely is still a lot of offensive pressure on Ian's side of the field. Mega Evolving his Gengar, going for Whimsicott, using that Moonblast to target that Mega Salamence. It does not get that knockout. Sludge Bomb from Gengar, though, could certainly finish the job, and it does, knocking out that Salamence before it has a chance to move this turn. Raichu capitalizing on this opportunity, using it to nuzzle that Whimsicott while it will not do a lot of damage, and it won't stop the Prankster ability ability, it will paralyze it, meaning there is a chance that Whimsicott will be unable to move in future turns of this battle.
Yeah, I like watching Ian use Whimsicott offensively here. It's in a really good position when it was in that lead to be offensive and throw out big Moonblasts and such. So to see him actually just double into that Salamence, really good play. Very brave play though by Ian. I mean, when we see Salamence hit the field, most of the time we see the player will protect the Salamence the turn it Mega Evolves, so it does get to benefit from that speed the next turn. Will, I think, assumes Ian's going to guess that he's going to protect it, so he doesn't protect, but Ian just, because he's not too scared of the Raichu, I don't think, he just throws 2 attacks into the slot where the Salamence resides, and just catches him short, almost caught with his pants down a little bit there, just leaving Salamence unprotected.
Yes, and we do see the Kyogre take the field in that Salamence's place.
Yeah, very safe there from Will.
Very
Doesn't want to
safe.
show too much of his team, and we're going to see the Groudon switch in right away from Ian though, so not such a great time for Kyogre to be on the field at all.
Not such a great time at all. That Groudon will take this opportunity to set up Sunlight as the form of weather. So if Kyogre was planning on attacking with something like an Origin Pulse, maybe a Water Spout or a Scald, as we have seen in previous rounds of this tournament from the various Kyogres brought by trainers, it'll be unable to do so. Gengar going for that disable onto the Nuzzle. Raichu is unable to attack this turn, but Kyogre saw the Groudon switch in coming and went for an Ice Beam into that slot, and it deals a significant chunk of damage.
Yeah, one from Will's side and perspective we're seeing it from, one prediction went really well. He predicted the Groudon to come in, so he attacks with the Ice Beam. It would have been nice to hit the Whimsicott, but does significant damage to the Groudon actually. He does kind of get it wrong though. He does try and Nuzzle when he knows Gengar has the Disable. We see Raichu just start the turn with Feint though.
Feint and Gengar going for a second disable, this time into Kyogre's Ice Beam, allowing Groudon to essentially get a substitute up for free. Without Ice Beam and potentially without any other attacks that can attack with the Sunlight up, I think that Kyogre is stranded.
Yeah, this is a different way to play it. We saw it yesterday a little bit. We're just using it to control the weather, obviously using the Shadow Tag to keep the weather, but he's keeping Kyogre in, and Kyogre is now unable to attack unless it's got something, potentially a Thunder it may be able to throw towards Gengar. It's likely just going to have 2 water attacks, protect an Ice Beam. Now with the Ice Beam disabled, it's just not going to be able to do anything at all.
No, so it protects, trying to stall out the remainder of that disable. Raichu going for the Feint into Groudon. It looks like Gengar used Sludge Bomb to attack that Kyogre. Groudon going for a massive Precipice Blades, knocking out that Raichu.
Yeah, very safe play from Ian. And he's at liberty to do something like that with, of course, the Groudon on the field. I think it's a bit of a blessing there for Will that he gets rid of Raichu. I don't think Raichu was going to be able to do too much to either of these Pokemon on the field. Not at all the Groudon, and not really much to the Gengar, especially after Nuzzle got disabled. So very beneficial play in a way, but of course the Pokemon advantage sits very safely in Ian's favor, and we're just going to see Will lock in the forfeit immediately. Got some of the information he needs. He just doesn't want to play out the rest of this game though and potentially give up secrets on his side of the field.
Yeah, a very quick forfeit from Will, but you know what? That's just what happens. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it's better to keep the information on your side of the field. And knowing what he knows now, knowing that we saw that Gengar and Whimsicott lead that gave Ian the win from that last round, we'll have to see if he's able to compensate for it this time.
Yeah, we did see just a very safe lead, a very disruptive lead that he really likes. So it's going well, I think. We are, of course, just going to see Will try and adapt here. That's exactly what he did in his semi-final, though. He lost the first game to Wolfie and came back and won the next one. So he knows this team very well. He knows the kind of comebacks. And we do see identical leads come out this time.
We do. Again, that Salamence and Raichu from Will into that Gengar and Whimsicott from Ian. I wonder if Will's going to play this a little bit differently this time around to try and be at an advantage instead of a disadvantage at the beginning of the next turn.
Yeah, I feel like Will is playing the mind game with the Protect now. It's definitely kind of a guessing game and how well he knows Ian's playstyle. We are going to see the Mega Evolutions, and then it's going to be interesting to see if Will actually decides to protect the Salamence after the Mega Evolution this time, and if he does, did Ian throw 2 attacks at it again?
Yeah, and both of these trainers took no time at all to select their moves there, so it's almost like they knew immediately upon seeing these leads exactly what they would play. Raichu faking out that Whimsicott. It's not going to be able to move this turn. Gengar sludge bombing the Salamence, so while it will do a massive amount of damage and poison the Salamence, that is not a knockout. Salamence is free to use its Hyper Voice now to potentially knock out that Whimsicott with some massive damage, deal enough damage on Gengar that it is in range for a knockout within the next couple of turns. But you know, that poison, and I'm sure that Gengar has Protect, knowing that it does pack that Shadow Tag ability and wants to stay alive on the field as long as possible. That poison's definitely going to haunt Will.
Yeah, but I think getting rid of the Whimsicott is a really big thing for Will there, especially because he quite bravely used Fake Out from the Raichu. If the Whimsicott on Ian's side of the field does have Encore, which we've seen today, you know, he was going to be trapped into Fake Out, so getting rid of it with the combination of Fake Out and the Hyper Voice coming down, very good play for Will. Obviously getting the Salamence poisoned isn't ideal, but with the fact Ian bought in the Salamence, it might be okay for him to lose the Salamence now. It's going to be under a lot of pressure. We see Gengar though just going for that Protect.
Xerneas protecting as well, stalling out this last turn with Salamence on the field, allowing the poison to do its job and knock it out. Also preventing Raichu from nuzzling that Xerneas, which could have been a response from, you know, if we saw Geomancy there. Salamence though, I think it wins the round. It survives that poison with just 1 HP. It has another turn to potentially deal some damage now.
Yeah, I don't know if Will knew that number, but he's obviously been able to calculate it very, very close, and maybe being able to get a little more damage off of the Salamence is going to be really good. Gengar going for the Disable, though.
Yeah, Gengar not wanting to allow Raichu to paralyze that Xerneas, to allow it to, you know, capitalize a lot on nerfing the speed after it gets a boost from a Geomancy. We're also going to see Raichu endeavor that Xerneas, so great information for Ian if we do see a game 3, but for now he's going to use that Geomancy, he's going to power up, and this Xerneas now is set up to start sweeping.
Yeah, and that's Ian's thing, and that's how he's been winning games all day, and all day yesterday too. Once he gets his Xerneas into a winning position, he just plays with it so smartly. I mean, neither of the Pokemon on the field right now, obviously something's going to come in for Salamence while that poison ticks down, are going to be able to take it out, but he just knows that he can win games with Xerneas, and his team supports the Xerneas very, very well. It wouldn't shock me to see him perhaps bring in the Kangaskhan now, but just instead of that, he just ignores my advice and brings in the Groudon, though.
We are going to see the Groudon come in on the field versus Will's Kyogre, and it does indeed look like that Groudon is faster than the Kyogre. It will Primal Revert first, allowing Kyogre to ensure that it gets the weather it wants on the field for this next turn. That being said, don't count Groudon out. While it will be unable to use any Fire-type attacks in this turn, you know, Groudon is a very good Pokemon when it comes to moves like Precipice Blades, maybe Earth Power, and that Xerneas is supercharged right now. I think the momentum is definitely still in Ian's favor, and Will really needs to think hard to how he's going to respond to the situation on the field right now.
Oh, for sure, and we see Will actually being quite smart in the way he's trained his Kyogre. He knows, and I talked to him a little bit about it last night, actually. He said to me, you know, I want to make sure my Kyogre's always the slowest, so it always gets the rain up, because that's how you're going to win. So maybe going to force a few switches here. It's just going to protect those, seeing if he can bait a Protect out from the other side of the field, perhaps.
Moonblast from that Xerneas into the protecting Kyogre. It looks like we saw an endeavor there from Raichu. Groudon using Substitute to capitalize on this Protect turn from that Kyogre.
Yeah, Raichu there. Endeavored Xerneas the turn before, so we know it's at 140 hit points exactly. I think what Raichu's looking to do there is take the Dazzling Gleam from the Xerneas. Hopefully he knows the calculation, and if it's the Assault Vest Raichu we see a lot, it is going to be able to survive it, and then it gets through that and then lowers it, but it doesn't, and it's still there this turn to throw out the Feint.
Yeah, it's still there throughout the Feint. We're going to see another Moonblast from that Xerneas. Precipice Blades, Raichu dodges it. It's going to connect with that Kyogre, though. Will it do enough for the knockout? It does. So that was a crit as well. Not sure if that mattered, but certainly a great move for Ian there.
Yeah, fantastic move for Ian, and we see he's not even scared of the Kyogre purely because that Substitute is up. We've only seen one Substitute Groudon today, and I think that really affected how the game plays out. I like that Will brought the Raichu to this matchup to try and deal with the Geomancy from Ian's side of the field. That's one really consistent way to deal with it. But I feel like the threat of the Groudon has always just kept that Raichu in check. And especially with Nuzzle disabled, it's been nigh on impossible for it to do anything. So Ian seeing what Will's going to bring, he's predicted it very, very effectively throughout. He just made the right choices in team preview on both games, I think, and put Will really at a disadvantage. Not over yet, though, of course. Will does have his Xerneas, but his isn't boosted by Geomancy.
A second Fate from that Raichu dealing a little bit of chip damage to Xerneas. Moonblast from Xerneas into Will Xerneas. It barely holds on with 34 HP. Double Avoid on the Precipice Blades, allowing Will Xerneas to get up its own Geomancy. You know, just as you said, this game certainly is not over yet.
Yeah, and that Double Avoid, there's the downfall of using Precipice Blades. I know some trainers really don't like it. That's what they talk about some of the Earth Power, but there's not really a better move. Getting that Double Avoid means Will does have the turn. He plays the turn perfectly, knowing that's what he needs to do. He also gets to a point where Nuzzle isn't disabled anymore, so maybe, although that Xerneas is dangerously low, might be able to find a way around. I still think it's hard for Will to find a win condition when, of course, the substitute is up for the Groudon. But if he could keep avoiding attacks, then he could be doing really well for himself.
Double protect. Both of these Xerneas are protecting this turn. Raichu finally using that Nuzzle, but unfortunately it will not be able to attack that Xerneas. And Raichu dodging yet another Precipice Blades from that Groudon.
Yeah, I think both the Xerneas protected this turn, and the next turn we do actually get to figure out, you know, who's quicker. Both of them we've seen are using this bulkier variety, but it's just going to come down to the finesse of the training that they go for.
Will Xerneas moving
first
with that Dazzling Gleam. Will it knock out the Xerneas on Ian's side of the field? It does not. Groudon substitute does go away. We will see another Dazzling Gleam, this time from Ian Xerneas. It picks up the knockout onto Xerneas on Will's side of the field. Poor Raichu is left. It doesn't get the Nuzzle. It actually targeted that Groudon, who will then retaliate with a Precipice Blades connecting with that Raichu, knocking it out. And Ian Mclaughlin is your 2017 Florida Regional Champion. Well played to both of these trainers.
Yeah, fantastic game played by Ian there. He knew what he needed to do from the outset. I think, you know, as we were talking before, they obviously had a little bit of time to figure it out. And I think he actually knew before he got into the game what he needed to do to win. Will, of course, putting up a good fight, but Will said there was going to be some things he was definitely going to struggle to get around, and I don't think he found that answer quite yet. So, fantastically played by Ian. Obviously, Will coming way further than I think he himself expected, and to take down the world champion in your semi-finals, and it's been a little while, I think, since Will had a big regionals run like this. He's going to be feeling good, you know, rounding out the end of this season, a format that a little bit controversial. He can still be proud of taking second place. He takes home that $250 cash prize, a nice brick for his wall, if that's what he's into. But obviously the spoils go to Ian in this instance.
Yeah, so definitely well played by both of these trainers. I think we're going to try and snag Ian for a quick interview. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be right back after a very short break to interview Ian Mclaughlin, again, your 2017 Florida Pokemon Regional Champion. Please stay tuned. Here he is, everybody, your 2017 Florida Regional Champion, Ian Mclaughlin. How does it feel?
Pretty great.
You sound like you're a little bit awestruck almost.
A little bit. I'm not sure if I was completely expecting to win. I definitely wanted it to win, and I don't know if I was expecting it, especially with Wolf here and everything. He's a great player. Started 7-0. I wasn't sure, but I was confident at least.
Yeah, so tell me about your mindset going into this match. How were you feeling? What were you thinking about your matchup? What was going through your head?
Against Will's team with the Xerneas and the Kyogre, I knew I had a really good matchup because I can trap either one of his restricteds and make them very weak against my team, which is a great thing. So I feel like I knew he had to bring Solomon's because that's going to be his main damage in that matchup. And then I wasn't sure about what he would bring as for his fourth, but I was pretty sure it'd be Raichu because him on top in Amoonguss, right?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Those two don't fare very well against Gengar or Whimsicott, so it's just giving me an opening to win. So I feel like he had to lead Solomon's Raichu, and I just went with Gengar Whimsicott, which was very strong against him, as you can see.
Definitely. Were you nervous at all during that match? Did you have trouble kind of keeping track of the moves and figuring out what you needed to do to secure your win conditions?
No, not really, especially after the turn 1, game 1. I wasn't sure what he knew about my team, because before the United Regionals, I had Protect on my Whimsicott, so I wasn't sure if he knew I had Protect or not. I knew his Raichu had Feint, so I wasn't sure whether or not what he was going to do with that. So I just went for the double, and it worked out, and I felt very confident after that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you did such an amazing job sort of controlling the pace of those matches. How did this rack up against the other battles you faced here this weekend? Was this like the highlight of the trip, or?
I'm not sure which set I would say the best was for me, but I think this is probably the best time I've had in an event, like just playing the Pokemon instead of the other stuff. Like I've had a lot of fun just playing.
That's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that because, I think a lot of people feel like the format's gotten to the point where it is very stale and it's not really fun to play those, the same matchup over and over and over again. But knowing that you enjoyed your time here, that must feel pretty great.
Yeah.
All right, so what's next? Are you going to be competing in any other 2016 tournaments, or are you going to take a little break, get ready for 2017, see what Sun and Moon has to offer, and then jump in then?
I'm not 100% sure. If I am going to regional before 2017, it'll be Philly, but I'm not set on it yet.
All right, well, what about London? Any plans to head out there?
My little brother was in the top 4 last year in juniors and in CP, so I get a free trip. So
nice!
Yeah, I am.
So how are you going to prepare for a tournament that's so close to the games being released?
I'm not sure. I'm just going to play a lot. I think the main thing is that I just want to have fun, because I think the tournament itself, even though it is an international tournament and has a lot on the line, I still think it's just going to be more of a thing for fun.
Yeah.
And just getting out to London and seeing stuff too.
Yeah, well, London is certainly a very beautiful city, so it's going to be a lot of fun to explore. Before we wrap things up, do you have any shout-outs you'd like to give? Any friends out there who, helped you figure out your team, practice maybe?
If there's one person that we would play a team, it would be Patrick Smith. He gave me the idea right after Arizona, and then also just helped me play with it and kind of figure things out with me. So it was pretty nice.
Nice. Well, a huge thank you to Patrick Smith then. His help, I think, definitely paid off. So congrats again for winning the 2017 Florida Regional Championships. I'm sure that brick will look beautiful on your mantle or your bureau or wherever else it may end up. From me, we will be back in a short bit to say a few thank yous before we wrap up the stream officially. But, thank you guys so much for watching. Please stick around just for a little bit longer. I promise you we're almost done. Again, huge congrats to you, Ian. Thank you so much for joining us. And I wish you the best of luck with the remainder of 2016 into 2017.
Thank you.
All right, we will be right back.